Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. In the Facebook post, I had you guys, there wasn't necessarily homework you had to do to get on this call, but we're going to be talking about throughout this call the homework that you have between now and the next time we chat. So here's what I want you guys to do. If you haven't noticed, we're going to be talking leadership. We're going to be talking about how to influence people. We're going to be talking about your team. We're going to be naming names of people who we can help, because as you know, I talked about last time, I'm convinced that the only way we're going to grow is if we grow ourselves. And especially in the leadership role, people look to you as leaders. People want you to lead, and you're going to get where you want to go because you're a good leader, not by accident. And I feel like sometimes I talk to people and they just want it to kind of happen rather than make it happen. So we're going to be talking about how to become a better leader, how to talk to people in a leadership way to get them to act. That's pretty much the ultimate goal. We want people to stick around and we want them to act, are the two things we want them to do. So I hope you have something to write with, and I hope you have a blank piece of paper, because we're going to get started right now. I'm going to have you guys do a little drawing. What I want you to do to get started first is I want you to get a piece of paper in the bottom, I don't know what corner this is, in the bottom corner, draw a big old dot and write, hey, nice, we're going to be talking about this. And write the word you underneath it. Okay, so far so good. And next, what I want you to do
I missed that.
Draw
Say that again. Right one again. Sorry.
That's okay. The word you, Y-O-U.
Got it.
And then I want you to draw a line in a 45-degree angle going up from that dot. And then lastly, I want you to write the word expectation. So pretty much it looks like this. Okay, as you're finishing that up, as you guys know, I think I talked to the majority of you. You've heard me say this. If not, you'll hear me say it again. In my humble opinion, the most important conversation you can have with anybody at any point during any time of their coach or customer lifetime with you are the initial first conversations. This is where you air out everything. This is where you get to understand them. This is where they get to understand you. And what it does not look like to me is an email or Facebook message of, hey, welcome to the team. Here's an email that has some attachments. Here's some trainings. Let me know if you have any questions. To me, that's not having an important conversation with this individual. To me, that initial conversations should include, if you're local, a meetup. If they're not local, a phone call or a Zoom. To me, it's critical, because it's establishing relationships. It's gaining trust. It's understanding where they are and what they want. And I'm avoiding this word up until this point. It's establishing expectations. Here's what I want you guys to do right now. I want you guys to look at this, and I want you to, above the line, hi Sam, welcome. We're doing a little drawing. If you can, I'll keep this here. I'll have you draw this on a piece of paper. What I want you guys to do is I want you to, so if this is a person you're working with, we hope that as we work with them, they will grow. We expect them to grow. Now, this line right here doesn't have a time frame attached to that. I think you guys understand that point. It could be very fast, or this could be a long thing. But over time, we would hope that people would grow. It's an expectation. So here's what I want you to do. On your piece of paper, above the line, I want you to write down what are some of the behaviors, attitudes, habits, actions that somebody does to grow. And then I want you to do the exact same thing for people who fall below the line. What are some of the behaviors, actions, attitudes, whatever, that fall below the line of expectation? I'll give you about a minute to write down things above and below the expectation line. Give me about 15 more seconds. Okay. Due to time constraints, you guys can continue writing, but I do want a few of us to kind of toss out what you put above the line and what you put below the line. Let's do above the line first. So can somebody just tell me two things that they wrote for above the line? Denise.
I wrote self-love and gratitude.
I have not heard those ones before. That's perfect. Yes. Chris.
Consistency and follow-up.
Consistency and follow-up. Excellent. So there's some of those expectations that you have for these individuals. Perfect. Others?
I had just like basic new person stuff, like announcing that they're doing this, picking a program and actually doing it.
Very basic things, yes.
I said acknowledging personal business goals and aligning actions to that as one.
Very good. Okay, those are all perfect. I think those all fall definitely above the line, or at least the expected line of expectation to grow. Let's do things. What are some of the things that fell below the line for you?
I put scroll Instagram or Facebook and not having a vision for themselves.
I like that. Not having a vision. I like that a lot. Okay. Somebody else?
Falling off track with their nutrition and their workouts. And then, I don't know, I have so many things. Make excuses, whine, there's always, and I don't mean whine, just complain and just not, more of a negative attitude.
I've heard whine on every single call that I've done so far, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Denise.
Lack of leadership and not showing up.
Very nice. Anybody else?
I had being self-conscious and not sharing what it is they're doing.
Okay.
One I wrote was just not communicating their own expectations for the business they had.
Perfect. So I think we all have, I don't think anybody was like, oh my gosh, that's too much to ask. But I think we all have a fairly good understanding of expectations on how to grow. I would find this fascinating for you guys to do this exact same exercise with your brand new coaches, where you have them draw themselves, you have them draw the line, and then you have them explain without prompting them, have them explain what they think are some of the actions that fall above the line and what they think are some of the things that fall below the line. I would guess that you would find some shocking things that they would say. I think this gives you a huge insight into what they think coach life looks like. Because so many times people obviously they want to go. This is probably a steeper arrow. They probably want to go straight up. But they're not willing to, or they don't understand what it takes to move this in a positive direction. Now, you also need to know, and I think you already know this, never once in the history of mankind has this line ever been straight, ever. It is all over the place. But as long as it's trending in a upward direction, then we can say we're doing good. It will never be absolutely straight. And so one of the things leaders do best is they're flexible. Leaders are flexible. They know they can look at somebody and they can tweak accordingly, but they can get people back on track. They're not necessarily slave drivers here, and I apologize for using that such a negative term. They don't just crack the whip and say, here's where you should be. They understand where people are going. They understand people have lives, but they know how to course correct and get them back on that path. It's being flexible. If you follow my personal page, Facebook page, a little while ago, I did a post about doctors, and I want to bring that up once again because I think it makes sense here when it comes to helping people stay on that path. A doctor, just a good old family doctor. If you're sick, if you have, let's say, I don't know, if you have, I guess just sore throat, if you go in with sinus infection, I don't know. So you go to your doctor, and the doctor sits down and without saying anything starts writing things down, and then all of a sudden gives you a prescription for Xanax. Or I don't know, some crazy thing, and you're like, what in the world, doc? I have a sinus infection. You're like, no. Here's what you should be taking right now. That doesn't happen because it doesn't make sense. What does happen is a doctor sits down with you and starts asking questions. Hey, how's it going? Tell me why you're here. What hurts? Point to what hurts. Tell me some of the symptoms you have. And by asking questions, a doctor can then properly diagnose you and give you the correct prescription that's going to help you feel better. I can guarantee, I would also find this very interesting to know how many different prescriptions a doctor writes every single day, because they get so many different scenarios every single day, but because they have the knowledge, they know what to prescribe, they know what questions to ask, and they can help people feel better. Obviously, you know where I'm going with this. You guys, in a sense, are doctors with these people who are coming to you saying, hey, I'm coming to your office, and before they can even open up their mouth, you're like, hi, welcome to the team, here's your prescription. And maybe if they need Xanax, it would help them, but it'd be a flat chance, it'd be straight up chance that it helps. But that's what we do so many times. We say, here's your prescription. When in reality, we should be, hi, talk to me. Where does it hurt? What's going on? Why are you here? How can I help? And then by talking back and forth and asking the right questions, and based on your knowledge that you have, you can then, in this sense, write the correct prescription for these individuals. And it's going to be different for every single person. You can every single person is going to have a different line, but it's what they need, and it's what's going to help them feel better. Don't be the first doctor. Be the good doctor that asks the questions and gives the correct prescriptions when talking to people. But you have to know what questions to ask. You have to know what expectations what reality looks like for these individuals. Because if you can, when it comes to expectation, and this is something I would revisit with people on a very frequent basis of, hey, here's what you thought you expected. How's it going? You've been a coach now a couple months. Are the expectations reality or not? Do we need to reset this piece of paper? Do we need to go over this and try again? Because if you can keep expectations on a good level, you have people who stick around. And you have people who eventually grow. But if the expectation line is too far out there, people are going to quit because they think that they suck when they don't, or they think it's too hard. They think, crap, apparently it's not what I expected. I'm out. You can keep people around if you keep expectations a reality. Now, you might have to lower expectations, but that's okay because you'll eventually get back to where expectations are reality or a positive thing. So, okay, so that's my expectation little image. Hopefully this right here is going to change the world. Right here. This little graph's going to change the world. I'm just kidding. Any questions on this before we move on? Chris.
Can you just explain, because I think this would be a great team call to get people engaged in. Can you explain what you said to us at the beginning about above the expectation and then below? What is the question that you asked?
Yeah. What are some of the behaviors, actions, habits, yada, 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 that a person...
Oh, got it.
Above, and I say above the line, but it's pretty much the expected line and above. And the same things for... And
okay.
yes, this will be an awesome team call. And by the way, it comes from that book that you just showed me.
I know. I'm just only on chapter 2. Someone, I think, recommended the last call, so I picked it up. But I think that's great. The doctor explanation is really good, too, that you just went over. That just explains it perfectly.
Yeah. So let me, for those of you jumping on just a little bit late, welcome. Hi. You just missed. We just changed the world, and you missed it. Sorry. Next time. Here's what we're going to do now. I'm almost done with this piece of paper. So this what we're talking about, guys, is going to be a 2-part series. Today, we're going to start a little, maybe on the negative side. We're going to talk about what to do with people who fall the expected line. Next time, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about what to do with people who fall above the expected line. So this is a 2-part series. Now, and yes, this is all based on this book that Chris and I are reading. I think it's really good. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about so for the people who fall below the expectation line, we talked about the behaviors, the attitudes, when they start falling off, what do we do with them? So the book suggests that people who fall below the expectation line fall into 2 different categories. And I do want you to write this down so that we can talk about these, because your homework assignment is going to be based on these 2 categories. People who fall below the line either need to be counseled or they need to be provided things. And it's the provide category, counsel category, and provide category. Let's start with the lowest of low, people who need to be counseled. Now, how you will know people need to be counseled versus provided is based on their attitude. People who need to be provided will have everything they need to be successful. The people who in the counsel category. People in the counsel category will have everything they need to be successful, but their attitude isn't there. People who need to be provided want to be successful, but they feel they don't have the necessary trainings, items to be successful. They're missing something. They feel like they want to be there, but they're falling below because they don't have all of the necessary trainings to become successful. So that's how you know the difference between the two. Now, going back to my doctor analogy, we're going to start with the counsel category. Here are some of the symptoms a person who needs to be counseled will show. Number one, their performance is below expectations. That's obvious. Correctional feedback is required, or advising is needed, and they have some form of behavior problems that need to be solved. There may be a conflict that needs to be resolved. They might have an issue with an individual, or they just mentally, something's over. They just can't mentally get over a hump. It's holding them back. And once again, the main thing that they're showing is they have everything they need to be successful, but their attitude isn't there. They don't want. They're not showing up. You can just tell they're just not there. Now, this is probably the most difficult category to work with. And I know some of you work in this field. Tamara, I'm kind of looking at you at this one. This is something that is very difficult to help overcome, but people can get out of this category. So here's some of the prescriptions that happen that you can work with, that you can use to help people who fall into this category of needing to be counseled. You get to the correct page. It says here that the primary things that you can do to help is, number one, empathetic listening. They just need an ear. They just need to be heard. This isn't advising. This isn't fixing a problem. This is just listening. Number two, defining expectations. I really like that one, because this is where you can together, you know what, when we first did this, we had you, here's some of the things that you talked about. You know what, let's redefine those expectations because things have changed, life upon us. Let's redefine expectations. That alone, guys, will help them feel so much better. So much better. And the last one is sharing intentions in a very loving manner. These people, obviously, because they're falling below the expectation line, they're not producing a lot. And obviously we want them to, but at this point they can't. There's a mental block that just needs to overcome, and you can work with them in overcoming these things. One of the things that the book suggests that I really liked is bringing them back to why they clicked purchase the very first time. Going back to this, when you clicked purchase, you saw yourself right here. Let's go back to that. Let's revisit that on a call. When you're doing a Zoom with them, tell me why you clicked purchase. Where did you see yourself over whatever period of time? And how can we get back to that point? If you can help, and we talk about this, getting back to them to their why. Yeah, they may have a why, but when they said, man, I see myself in a better place, click, I'm going to purchase a challenge pack. Let's get them back to that. They wouldn't have purchased it if they didn't think they could be in a better spot. Let me see. So here's what I want you, are there any questions with this counsel category or thoughts, Chris?
Just my thoughts. So we're coaches, not counselors. And I get it's really frustrating at times because a lot of times you try to help somebody and it's always that constant complaining and whining and negative attitude. And how do you pull them out of it? And so, yes, okay, I see these prescriptions, but some of that, you do all that and you're getting nowhere, and it's very frustrating. And do we really need to put our time into these people? Because sometimes they're never going to change.
Great question. I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely not. Do we need to focus our 100% of our attention on these individuals? You know, on a call 2 days ago, one person said, well, can we just like bless and release? Okay. How about we say bless and pause? Because you're right. If all you do is turn into a counselor, you're not growing a business. And your job is to grow a business. And so, but everybody deserves a chance to become successful. I talk to too many coaches who say, look, if they want it, they're going to want it, they're going to get it. Well, what good are you in that equation? You're not. You can take somebody and change them into a better person. You have influence over these individuals. But there are times when they're mentally not ready. And so it's okay because you've already had this talk with them and they know they're falling below expectation to say, you know what, it's okay. Life's crazy, things aren't working right now. How about we hit the pause button and I will check back in at such and such date to see if we can't redefine expectations in these roles and work from there. I know easier said than done because some of these people are tough cookies. But to your point, if we focus too much in this category, we're not building a business. You're 100% correct there. But to a point, we can change lives. We can help individuals. We're not counselors, you're right. We're coaches, but there can be some improvement on that. That's a great question to bring up. So don't bless and release, maybe bless and pause. Release is kind of, you're hopeless. I don't like that.
Can I ask, even as a coach, what if you find that you are too much of the counsel style? Like, is there kind of an alternative? Like, I know the other ones, obviously, they provide for them. But what if, as a coach like myself, I tend to counsel too much? And then it becomes like I am just their like therapist and not really helping them with their business. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think you're getting a lot of head nods and for people who are like, yeah, I know exactly. Does anybody have thoughts before I share my thoughts? That's a great point on maybe how to overcome this.
I don't know. I guess I'm the opposite. I'm like a excuse crusher and a little bit of a hard ass, right? Tomorrow you probably figure that out. But I just like, yes, it's nice to be nice, but get your shit together. Like, I don't know, at some point, like, I guess I'm coming off as like not very nice, and yes, you have to empathize and all that, but when you keep doing that, they're not going to grow. Like, they just stay there. And then there's always something that comes up. I have one particular person that she has every life situation. And I, like you said, Kevin, I want to help her and I continue to help her over and over again, but it's always something. And so I do bless and pause with her, absolutely, because I know she has potential. But then it just burns you out. And then we get burnt out as coaches. So then it's like, you know, we have all the tools to help them, but they have to do the work. They have to, we can't do that for them.
Absolutely. And nowhere in this book does it say do the work for them. Absolutely not. That's a great point.
I think for me, like, I've actually, once you get to that place, and I don't know if that's the next thing, like, I actually give them something to do. Like, if it's emotional, then, you know, if somebody's having all this attraction of like circumstances, I'm like, you need Gabrielle Bernstein. You need, like, the universe has your back, but you keep attracting negative stuff. Like, so I give them something to do, and then, you know, if there's somebody that I check in with and they haven't done it, it's like, okay, so I'm here to help, but you're not taking that. What is that about? How do you want me to work with you? You know, I think that's one of the best questions I learned was, you know, can I hold you accountable? Do I have your permission to hold you accountable to this? If you're on this call with me and you're saying, yes, I'm going to, you know, and half of these people aren't doing the program, right? Or aren't doing a program consistently. So I kind of prescribe the things that, you know, are vital behaviors, not hard. I kind of always bring it back to those 4 because it's so easy to. And if they don't do it, then I'm like, okay, like, when you're ready to you know, to do what we agreed on, I will always be here for you. And then that's when I just kind of check in with them every 3 months.
And I think the point that maybe you didn't bring out, Tamara, that I think is so vital to bring out is you've already established expectations with these individuals. If we don't establish expectations and subconsciously, we do have these expectations for individuals, whether we verbalize it or not. And when we think they fall below, then we get frustrated. Then we start going into this counseling. Then it's miscommunication, and it doesn't work out. So I would, once again, as I said out this call, the most important conversation you can have are the initial conversations where you set expectations so that if and when they do fall, you can have these kind of tough love conversations of, look, you told me if you fall below the line, here's some of the things that I can do to help kind of kick you in the pants and get you back on track. And that's what I'm doing. And if those don't work, maybe we need to redefine, or maybe we need to bless and pause. Going back to Chris's point, like, look, we're building a business. But one point that any leadership book will bring out, we're dealing with people. And people have emotions, and people have excuses, and people, it's not A plus B equals C. It's not just do this and you'll be successful. Once again, it is this line is never straight. It is all over the place. And that's the whole point of this mastermind call. This series is to know how to course correct, how to get people back on track. It isn't a you're in, you're out. Because then you're useless. You serve no purpose as a leader. You're just simply a means to them becoming successful. I want you to be an influential person. I want you to take somebody and make them better and have that be the joy in your life rather than trying to find the next person who's going to take off all on their own. That's just unrealistic expectations. But you can teach individuals. Okay, we need to move on to the second category, which is provide. Once again, the difference here is they want to be successful. They're showing positive signs. They're showing up, but for some reason they don't have the necessary things in their mind, at least, to become successful. I think all of us have actually been in this category before, especially those who have never had upline help before. You kind of had to figure things out on your own. You've fallen into this category of provide. So let me get to the page. Here's some of the symptoms that they show as well if they need to be provided something. Once again, number one, they fall below the expectation line. Two, direction, that they don't have a defined direction. They're kind of lost. They're kind of spinning their wheels. It says here, movement is not agreed upon. Developmental feedback is required. And then new expectations need to be defined. So it says the purpose of the provide role is to provide the individual with the things that are necessary for them to reach their goals. Too often we look at substandard performance and blame the individual. The truth is, in many cases, the individual needs something from the leader or the organization, such as training, support, better tools, skill building, guidance, direction, defined expectations, clearer goals, objectives, and resources. When the individual receives the proper training, guidance, and resources, they will improve their performance until it meets or exceeds expectations. They want to do a good job, but need the leader to provide critical elements for their success. This is a fun category, I think, to work with of the two, because their attitude is there. And this actually kind of puts us in our place, because we can, we always put together new trainings, new getting started right, new diamond trainings, and we think it's what they need to be successful. But sometimes we don't look at the raw data of, taking an individual and giving them the training, are they coming out of that training a better person? And if not, then what can I provide to them so that they can become successful? Because their attitude is there. So here's some of the prescriptions, the key behaviors of what to do for someone who falls into this category of provide. Number one, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Gathering information. Asking the right questions, guys, is probably the biggest thing for this. gathering information. And number 2, there's only 2, defining expectations. Going back to the drawing and defining expectations. Okay, so here's, and I failed to do this with the council category, but I want to make sure we do it with both. I want you guys to take just a few seconds here, and I think you've all had people pop into your head about people who fall into the council category and people who fall into the provide category. I want you to write those names down. And here is, you know, we have just a few minutes before I give the homework assignment to talk about a few of these individuals and their situations. And I'm not necessarily looking for, I want you guys to maybe raise your hand and say, here's somebody who I think falls into one of the 2 categories. Here's the scenario that I'm dealing with. Not necessarily are we looking for answers on this call right now, but I want you guys to simply, maybe so we can all have a good understanding of who we're working with. Does somebody want to raise their hand and give an example of a person who falls either into the council or provide category?
I can.
Go ahead, Sarah.
So I feel like I have people in the council, but the one that came up in my mind was for the provide. So I have a coach that I feel like does everything I tell her, and like we do, you know, bi-weekly calls, accountability calls. She sends me her trackers, invites. She posts awesome on social media. And I feel like she just struggles with moving forward. She's like an emerald coach, kind of doesn't get strong coaches, but we've gone over inviting tactics. We change them every single week. I've told her, you know, what changes for me, what I do, what works for me, and then she tries them. And I have coaches that have gone through the same trainings that are successful. So I'm like, how can I help her get better? Because I feel like she's doing the right things as a coach, but she's not her team. She just doesn't recruit well. And I don't know if it's because she does, I mean, I know you attract what you do, and she has a great transformation. So she shares that a lot. And so maybe she attracts more customers, but I feel like she's even grown as sharing like her commissions and how it's changed, Beachbody's changed her life. So I'm just having a hard time with how to help her move forward when we go like
Okay,
inviting.
Great question. I do want to bring up one point really quick with this graph. So I want to make sure we understand that this, you know, and this is a great thing to do with this individual, is to say, here's where you were on day 1. Do you feel you are do you feel like you've moved up? Do you feel like you've grown? Once again, this line is not a success line, nor does it have a time frame attached to it, but are they doing what's expected of them to do, and do they feel like they're moving at least in an upward trend? That's always a great question to ask. And then maybe say, how come? How can you feel? And if you have moved up, why? Why do you think you've improved? And then go off of those things and focus more on doing more of that, because that's going to continue to help them grow, rather than simply think that this is simply based on success. Success is hard to come by, you know, it's hard to look at that. But if we look at expectations of you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, that's great. And if you feel like you're in a better spot, that's great. Success isn't defined by rank nor by income. If you feel like you're in a better spot, that's moving towards success. And let's keep moving in that pattern so that she feels. Once again, it all comes down to these emotions of feeling like she's doing well. If she feels like she's doing well, she'll stick around. She'll just naturally exude those positive vibes that will attract people. But if she feels like she's spinning her wheels and not really doing well, it's just going to reflect on that as well. So we want her to feel like she's moving in the right direction. That's a great point. Okay, great question. Anybody else have? I think we have time for one more. If anybody wants to share, one other person.
I'll share.
Okay.
So I have my coach Adria. She's been around with me a long time. She started like most of my coaches because that's how I started as a discount buyer. And I think she's definitely in the counsel category. And I love this whole thing because I think when people have been around a while, you lose track of where we thought we were headed. And I think she's gone back and forth, whether it's she wants to retire from her full-time job, but now it's like, I don't see that's realistic. Is that the expectation? Is it not? So I think she's lost at some point at the end of last year, she really lost her steam and was really honest with me. She's like, I'm not inviting. I'm not doing anything. I need to regroup. And, and I listened, and I was just there for her and I accepted where she was. I didn't push on her. She's been one of my lifelong coaches. So it's hard to know. I love this task because I think if taking it back to that would be a great opportunity to say, let's pull that out. Like, what is the expectation? Is it to just, and I think I did that in so many words, is it just to be healthier? That's why you signed up to begin with. Like, do you feel like that's happening? And now she's back. I think we did that. She's back with the 80-day obsession. She's following it to a T. She feels good. And then therefore the other things are starting to trickle back in.
Yep. I love that. That was a great way. Thank you for sharing that, Tamara. That was perfect. What I hope you guys understand here is at least my goal for this mastermind group is by the end of our series just before Summit is to have more confidence when working with somebody and saying, I can help you. That's what my goal is with this. You're not going to be able to help everybody. And there are going to be those one or two people who are, look, we tried. We've tried. That's okay. I can't think of one person who has changed every single life they've touched. I just don't see that happening. But you can get better. And that's the purpose of this series, is for us to get better at that. To where maybe if somebody comes to you who is just a full-on negative Nancy, instead of going, ay caramba, maybe you can say, that's all right. I know how to fix this. We can get through this together. So here's the homework assignment. And this will take time, but this is how we get better. So you guys have written down names of these people who fall into each of these categories. This is a 2-part assignment. Number 1, I want you to keep our Facebook group page active. So go post on there the scenarios of these individuals and your thought, your initial action plan. Here's what I'm going to try to do for the next 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, I want you to try some of these prescriptions. I want you to maybe identify these people and try some of the things that we've talked about today. And then, so go on our page, post, here's what kind of who I'm working with. We don't have to do names or anything like that. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to take the first part of our call to say, have you guys report back on your homework. Here's what I tried. And if it completely failed, you let us know that it completely failed. If it succeeded, let us know that it succeeded. I'm not looking for 100% success. I'm just simply looking for us to try. So take an individual, take some of the things that we talked about and try some of the things that we worked with these people and come back saying, okay, here's how I did. We'll take the first part of our next call in 2 weeks to talk about that, but go back on our page so we all can have a good understanding of who we're working with. And then, but that's kind of how these calls are going to go. We're going to be talking about certain principles, and you're going to go apply them, and you're going to report back. And then it's going to stretch us, but that's okay. That's how we get better. So this was a really good call. I really appreciate your guys' comments. This is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting. This is going to be tough, but we're going to get better. We're going to go to Summit ready to conquer the world. So as leaders. So once again, we'll push back 2 weeks, but then we'll see you then. But thanks so much for jumping on. See you guys.